together to get out of here.
Go, go, go! How much air do you have?
It's fully in the red.
Grab a new air tank and I will come back to get you, okay?
I don't want to travel. It's a dead end. I just want to get out of here.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2024 horror thriller The Last Breath. The film is directed by Joachim Hedden and it stars Alexander Arnold, Kim Spearman, Jack Parr, Erin Mullen, Arlo Carter and the late great Julian Sands. Right, the film focuses on, initially we get to meet Noah and Levi. Now they run like a trawler, if you like. They're looking for treasure. Essentially what they are looking for, they find is a World War II battleship that sank in that area many, many years ago. And for the one that finds it, it is basically... it's the jackpot, and they happen to actually come across this after a storm kind of unearthed part of it. So they are there to kind of stake claim on it. But also Noah's friends are coming to the island for a visit. These are his high school friends and stuff. And one of them is incredibly wealthy. And when they find out that they have discovered this World War II battleship underwater, he offers money to go diving. Ultimately, he's not keen on doing it, Noah, but he finds out that they owe a lot of money on the boat, so they don't really have a choice. So they go diving. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be an adventure, but what they didn't count on was the fact that it would be riddled with sharks. It then becomes a fight for survival. Right, what are my thoughts on The Last Breath? Well, ultimately, I think what we have here is a pretty cool premise for a shark film. And you don't necessarily hear me say that a lot because we get so many shark films these days. Most of them are pretty poor. And you've always start and watch one with your fingers crossed, hoping that we're going to get something that's even watchable and, entertaining somewhat. And while I am pleased to report that overall I do think this film is that. It's a well-made shark film with a cool premise, with a decent budget behind it, decent production values, and it was really quite entertaining for the most part. However, there are quite a few pitfalls that I think the film falls into that I think reduce its enjoyment quite a lot. Ultimately, I think the initial setup I thought was really cool because you get to see this actual battleship go down in World War II, and you get to see some of the survivors swimming around in the water, and you get to see them taken out by sharks. So you're kind of thinking, yeah, it reminds you immediately of that thing that scene in Jaws where he's talking about, when his ship went down and they're all taken by sharks and stuff. Immediately you start thinking of that and you're thinking, yeah, it's on the right track is this film. It's a decent start, this. And then it obviously shoots forward to modern day times. And it does a good job, I think, this film, of initially introducing us to the characters of Noah and Levi. And Levi is played by Julian Sands. He's if you suppose, the captain of the ship. And he's played with some real panache, I think, as well, with Julian Sands, who, has always been a very talented actor. But he puts on this great, northern accent, and he does it, with his eyes closed. And he plays a very rough and ready and quite charismatic character. And for me, he was my favourite character in the film. So it does a good job of establishing the relationship between these two and setting up these characters and stuff, and it's pretty good. And then we are introduced to the rest of his friends, his high school friends that have come out for a visit. One that's obviously the ex, the love interest for the film, and the others are all deeply forgettable, and one intensely annoying. and straight away you start thinking, basically they're just shark bait, these characters. And it does a really terrible job of introducing us to these characters and establishing them. And the main problem with that is a big chunk of this film is these guys underwater with diving suits on and helmets, and you ain't got a clue who most of them are because they've not established them well. Even when they're saying the names, you don't know who they are. So I couldn't care less which one of them is about to get munched by a shark or is in peril and mortal danger. And one in particular, the intensely annoying one, I was deeply looking forward to seeing him getting munched. So it's a real big problem, that, because when they actually get underwater and like the shit hits the fan, if you like, I didn't really care a great deal about many of them at all, really. And there were some actually decent tension shots that I thought would have worked quite well. And one of the best scenes was when one of them kind of gets up to the surface and he's swimming back to the boat, and Julian Sands is encouraging him and stuff, and that would have worked quite well. However, the person that was trying to get to the boat was the one I really wanted to get munched. So again, I think they dropped the ball there with that one. It needed to be, I think, a character that you really didn't want to get munched, and you would have really got into that scene. So I just thought they made a few missteps here and there with this film. There were some. However, saying all that, I do think, like I say, the idea here is very, very sound. I thought the effects, for the most part, were of a decent standard, and it definitely kind of got you involved in the film occasionally here and there. And there's a great scene right at the end where one of the established characters kind of sacrifices themselves. I'm not sure he needed to do it, but he did anyway. And, you know, that was when I actually felt a little bit of a sense of loss. So while I don't think this film is kind of going to, you know, be on anybody's top 10 list of the year, potentially, I really doubt it. In relation to shark films that I have watched and reviewed on this channel, this is certainly an above average one. And it's a cool premise. Unfortunately, it's got some poorly established and written characters that you don't really care about. But I think with a couple of, you know, alterations, I think this film probably could have done a little bit better and been even more entertaining. So yeah, thanks for joining me, guys, for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.